Absolute Flash, issue 2, Jeff Lemire, writing with Nick Robles on the art. So, this basically just picks up where the story left off last time. We have the rogues, if they're using that name here, hunting Wally in the caves. Something that was in issue 1, but I really appreciate it here again, just to emphasize the way his mind's moving quick, is the idea that his narration boxes are all overlapping each other, and sometimes even cover words to make it feel like his mind is just racing. It's a really simple little touch that I think goes a long way in giving his mind space. But yeah, a lot of this issue is the rogues like using their various tools or abilities to kind of lure Wally out, trap him, so on and so on. And yeah, we get that. Wally tries to run out, Glider hits him with her 2 lightsabers, I don't know what we're going to call them.
I guess. I don't know what they are. They feel like they're more like batons than anything. But yeah.
I think they're probably more like, not laser beams, but like metal that's got like, that's heated up and glowing.
A charge to them. Yeah.
But yeah, obviously Wally's like spinning around and all the rest of it, and they're all trying to use these powers. They actually like trap him. Jesse, who, for the am I imagining things here, or is this trickster a woman?
I think so.
Yeah, I don't think I noticed that in the first issue. Yeah.
Well, they keep calling them Jesse, and that could be a first name or a last name, because traditionally Trickster is James Jesse.
Yes.
So, yeah. So, but I believe it's a lady.
Yes. So anyway, they trap him in a bubble at one point, and then he just kind of like fires off like Speed Force lightning, and all sorts. Mm-hmm. And that's when it starts doing the jumping around again in time. We get kind of the pickup of when he was in the accident, when Barry was in the suit in like the bubble in the lab, and Wally got hit with all the stuff. Mm-hmm. Barry starts yelling out to him and try to help him. And it's like he disappears. It's like he like disappears into the lightning.
Yeah.
And that's when Wally's dad comes in and starts beating up Barry and saying, "What did you do to my boy?" But then Wally kind of reappears as lightning. Like he kind of like forms a shape of a boy out of the Speed Force lightning, and then ultimately kind of like reforms into like fully human form. So they're really like playing around with this, because you know like Wally normally is the one that can form a suit out of the Speed Force and stuff like that. It feels like they're going even further with it and saying that he is almost entirely Speed Force at this point.
Yeah.
So that's
it's almost like he's been. It's almost like he's been consumed by it, and it's coming back out through him. Almost like he's a living embodiment of it. Yeah. Because when it strikes him and he says "get away," and that's when it strikes out at his dad and at Barry.
Yes. And seemingly it was why he's blaming himself for what's happened to Barry. Mm-hmm. And when we come back to the present, Trickster's put bubbles around all of the rogues so they didn't get hit by it. And, you know, so then we get Wally breaks out the bubble by like phasing through it effectively. And they chase after him. And Glider's like, no one can outrun me. And then he just goes into like supersonic speed. The art's quite good here because it does a close up of his eyes. Like right after she says that, you get a close up of his eyes. He looks back and goes, "Oh, you don't know how fast I am." And he just takes off, and she's like, "Wait, what?" And she's just left in the dust.
And I love the color gradient around him. That as it gets closer to his feet, the more like yellow and orange it gets. Right, almost like he's charging up. Like, and just there's such a kinetic motion to all the art because those red lines look like they're coming across, you know, from left to right. As you get across the page.
It's definitely given the illusion of movement, and that's maybe been a big factor in the art here. Factor, that's not a word. So Wally just goes out of super speed, and it's like he's sort of like going through the Speed Force or something, because he starts seeing his past, he sees like memories, he sees whatever, and then he sees his future. But he sees 2 futures, right? He sees a future where he's wearing an outfit. His ginger hair's sticking out, and he's the Flash. And he also sees a future where it's
smiling.
He also sees a future that's a post-apocalypse where he's just like red lightning with like tatters of an outfit, as if like he's caused some sort of Speed Force apocalypse, and he doesn't know which future is the one that's going to happen. So it's kind of setting up a lot of big ideas here. And he kind of crash and burns in the dirt, and he ends up lying in the desert. And the cliffhanger at the end of the issue is the rogues say, "Hey, we need some more help here. Let out Grodd." And we get this close up of like eyes from the big like sort of like containment unit at the back of their truck of Grodd. But then the final page reveals he's very small, and he's Joey reminds me of, what was the Wonder Twins? He's
Gleek.
Gleek. Yeah, it reminds me of Gleek.
Yep.
There's some Gleek energy here.
The way that Boomer is like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And then just the whole, like, you feel like it's going to be this big, huge, and then the fake out that he's coming from this little tiny, and he looks like, yeah, like you said, he looks like Gleek. I was like, oh, okay, this you got me.
Yeah, and he's got an exposed brain as well. He's got this sort of design where, yeah, it's very different. It's very different Grodd than what we're used to from the regular universe, that's for sure. Yeah, I thought it was a really well-written issue. I thought it flowed a bit better than the first one did. I still think it's probably the weakest of all the Absolute books, just because I don't think there's quite as much of like a exciting hook to this one yet. But it's very solid. Yeah. Like I had a good time reading it, and I'm really into like seeing where it goes. But it is at the bottom of the Absolute pile, I think, right now, currently.
I think it really does well when it's Wally's inner monologue, because it really nails the racing thoughts. And I think LEMIRE, everything that I've read from creator owned wise from LEMIRE, he's very good at that, at getting people's thoughts and stuff across the page, done without, telling you that they're racing thoughts, just by showing you. And so here, when Wally's running through his memories, and we're getting all the speech or the narration boxes and stuff, you still get the vibe that these thoughts are racing and they're coming too fast for him to keep up with. So I really like that stylistic choice here.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that stuff works. Seeing the various rogues use their abilities and tools is fine enough. It is relatively quite simple in that sense, but it does look good. I think the art is pretty solid, particularly when it does use like because it's like, obviously there is lightning, right, when he uses his speed, but they do have this thing where there's these like solid blocks of like red lines that are there, and it gives that sense of motion. It's not even just because there's that one great page that you said where there's a lot of it is gliders chasing him, but even in the page before that, the 2-page layout where he breaks out of the bubble, you get these like straight red lines, and it's just a very simple stylistic thing that feels unique to this version of Flash, where I've never seen his speed represented with these blocky lines before.
It's almost like we're just perceiving a quick like a dash of it, right, across, as it goes across the field of view. So, which, yeah, like you said, I've never seen it like that before.
Yeah. It's sort of thing where you could easily, because this is not really anything to do with the differences to the character. This has nothing to do with it being Absolute Universe. This is just an artist's interpretation of how to represent the speed. Yep. But it does help that, oh, hey, this like, because you could easily, like, the next artist who does the regular Flash book could easily just throw this in there, and it wouldn't feel weird or out of place. But because it is like a new universe Flash and it's a different world, it does help make it feel different spiritually, even though technically it is just an artistic flourish. But it is a really good artistic flourish that I think I was noticing a lot in this issue. It's used throughout as well, and there is some of that regular like lightning around it as well, but your eyes really get drawn to these blocks of red. There's even one that's like just 2 or 3 pages in where he's in silhouette, so he's red as well as the blocky like red lines. It's really good. And the other thing that it does as well is that you can get different perspectives with them. There's one panel, again, it's just a couple of pages in, maybe 4 pages in, where there's a panel where he's running towards the camera, as it were. And because you've got these red blocks, or these red lines, you can have them at an angle and you get a sense of perspective. You get a sense that it's coming towards you. You can't really do that with the lightning quite as much, at least not as effectively, because lightning's so erratic in like shape and like how it moves that even though technically you could draw it as if it's like coming at an angle, it still won't look that different. Whereas when you use lots of like just rectangles, because they're rectangles, you get a good sense of perspective when you draw them at an angle or a certain vanishing point or whatever it might be.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Omega beams from Darkseid, right? Because they're usually straight lines.
Yeah.
the way that you can follow them through the motion, and then it changes the perspective. So like if the panel is Darkseid staring directly at you, the way that they come out is more, focused and pointed. So yeah, and I like that. And then on that same page, I think that's the page where he's running from Glider. When she sees him, it's kind of her point of view. We're looking from behind her, and we see him cutting across where it's kind of a mess of the lightning, but those lines are also there. So we're getting both of it. It's really cool. I like it.
Yeah, no, there's some good stuff going on. So, all right, Matt, what are you giving Absolute Flash issue 2?
I'm gonna give this one a 9.
Whoa, okay, very high. I'd actually go with a solid 8. I think I like this issue a little bit more than the first one. It felt a bit more focused, structurally a bit more sound, and I think there's some, like we've been talking about here, there's some really nice touches in the art of how to like represent his speed, which is a little bit unique.